Have you ever felt like you've tried everything to heal from the pain of sexual abuse, and yet nothing seems to really be helping? Well, one of the reasons why most people struggle to break free from the pain of past child abuse is because the techniques out there are positioned as a one-size-fits-all answer. What I want you to know is that there are actually 3 distinct phases on the path to recovery, and I'd love to share with you about these phases, what issues you must resolve to move to the next phase, and what kinds of support you'll need in order to move forward as quickly and completely as possible. The road to recovery is much easier when you know what stage you're in and what to do next. So don't hesitate. Go to www.rachelgrantcoaching.com/checklist and get your 9-page guide today. Now, our show. Welcome, everyone, to Beyond Surviving, the safe space for survivors of childhood sexual abuse to receive support, resources, and share their stories. Beyond Surviving is about freedom, healing, connection, and even laughter and fun. Most importantly, it's about letting go of the pain of abuse and finally moving on. I'm Rachel Grant, and for those of you who don't yet know me, I've been a sexual abuse recovery coach since 2007 and am the author of Beyond Surviving, the final stage of recovery from sexual abuse. I'm so glad to be here today with my guest, Amy, who's going to be sharing with us about her journey of healing and her move into theater and the arts and how creativity has really helped her heal from PTSD, sexual assault, and trauma. So I want to get right into introducing Amy to you all and get her on because she has so much experience and so much to share with us. I just want you to know, first of all, that she is a PTSD peer-to-peer specialist. She's an artist, author, writer for Huffington Post, speaker for TEDx and RAINN, health advocate, survivor, award-winning actress, and playwright. And she tours around sharing the lessons that she's learned from trauma through her writing, mixed media art, performance, and inspirational speaking. She's the creator of Gutless and Grateful, her Broadway world-nominated one-woman autobiographical musical, Broadway theater for college campuses and international conferences. She's studied as a playwright and performance artist in the National Musical Theater Institute at the world-renowned Eugene O'Neill Theater Center. She has an original full-length drama, Imprints, that premiered at the New York City Producers Club in May 2016 that explored how trauma affects the family as well as the individual. Now, one of the latest projects Amy's been working on is her own beautiful detour, and she's created #LoveMyDetour as a campaign to help others cope in the face of, well, unexpected events that take us in directions we weren't necessarily thinking our lives would head in. Detourism is also the subject of her TEDx talk and upcoming book, My Beautiful Detour, that will be coming out soon. You can learn more about her at amyoes.com, but with her at amyoes, that will be coming out soon. You can learn more about her at amyoes.com, but without further ado, Amy, hello, how are you? Welcome.
Hi, Rachel. Thanks for having me.
Oh, I'm so thrilled. You know, we've been chatting, I think it's been about a year now.
Oh, my God.
Since we first connected and going back and forth, and detours have been happening, right? And but we haven't given up, and we've found our way here to have this conversation today. So I'd love for us to start off today by you just telling us, you know, a bit about yourself and your story and kind of where you're at these days.
Where to start? Well, you mentioned in my bio that I do a lot of musical theater, and that was how I grew up. You know, I was born, and so I studied that, relentlessly. And when I was 15, I found a wonderful voice teacher who really took me under his wing, and I really, connected with this voice teacher because not only did he know everything about Broadway, but, I have a very intense love of nature and spirituality and poetry and all of those things, and so did he, and so it really felt like a mentor relationship, and I knew him since I was 15, and then when I turned 17, I mean, looking back, knowing what I know now, I could see all the signs of grooming. But once the abuse started, for me, it was all of a sudden, and I grew up so sheltered and innocent. I honestly thought those things only happen on the news, but it could never happen to me. So I literally didn't know what was happening. Like, no one had ever talked to me about anything like that before. So I went into the, PTSD, the freeze response, and I just became very numb. The first thing I remember is just, feeling like, imagining myself like a dot on the ceiling, and, the next day and every day after that, I didn't feel like myself, but I could not really connect it to anything. I still could not connect it. Again, it's funny knowing what I know now, but I just thought, wow, okay, something just weird happened to me. I don't know what's going on. And I couldn't even connect the dots, but I just knew I was acting different, and it wasn't long after that people around me, first my family and then my school, started noticing that I was acting differently, to the point where I was building up this awful anxiety that I could not get out of my system. And I remember, really affecting my body, like having this intense pain in my chest and, just hyperventilating in the middle of class and having to just get up in class and just, walk out. And I just was scared for my life because I didn't recognize me anymore. And in the meantime, I still could not connect it with my voice teacher. So I was still going back for lessons, and he was telling me there was something wrong with me, and it must have been my family dynamics, and we all needed family therapy. And so, my family was, at all ends, tearing each other apart, in the meantime, wondering, why I had become an anxious fireball. And I just remember feeling like I was headed for a train crash and not even understanding why. And when I first realized that I was sexually abused, I was actually actually what happened was I came back over the summer, after summer to my senior year of high school, and I could tell as soon as I got there on the first day, I thought to myself, I am not going to make it. Like, I can't even sit in class without having a panic attack. So I wrote this 2-page, dissertation to the headmaster saying, and I didn't even know what was going on, but I said, I need 2 months off from school to just heal and walk on the beach with my mom. And I had no idea what I was writing, but I guess, I was such a good student all this time, and everyone had noticed this dramatic change in me that I said, okay, Amy knows what she needs, all right. And I remember my mom in the car was looking at me like, okay, Amy, what is your master plan here? And I said, Mom, I just want to go to Barnes and Nobles every day with you, and I want to color, and I want to walk on the beach. And again, I had no idea what I was talking about, but like I needed something. And so one of these days, and this moment is actually in my one-woman show, I was just walking through Barnes and Nobles, and I was looking in the, healing and spirituality section, just for some kind of self-help kind of thing. And I happened to see this, big yellow book, and it was The Courage to Heal, which Hallmark, book, that everyone should take a look at. And I knew nothing about it, but, the title was very intriguing to me. And it's still so funny that I remember pulling it out, and the caption was for survivors of sexual abuse. And, now I talk about that so frequently, but back then, that was, again, something I only heard on the late night news. So I literally laughed, and I put it back like, yeah, right, that's like learning about, Civil War victims or something. Like, it has nothing to do with me. But so I put it back. But then, something intuitively rang out to me, like, so I put it back. But then, something intuitively rang out to me, like, I don't know. Something made me go back for it, obviously. And everything else that happened is like, meant to be after that, because I just opened it, and I happened to open to that checklist of symptoms towards the beginning, where, you can check off on, I feel numb, I don't feel like myself anymore, I don't trust myself anymore, I feel like there's something wrong with me. And, it was so funny, as I was going down the list, like, that's when I had my revelation that, like, oh my God, this is me. So then I just remember, like, shut it. What do you do with something like that? In Fairfield, Connecticut, and no one's talking about. This was 2004, 2005, and people. When there was no Me Too era, there was nothing. And so I didn't know what to do. In the meantime, I was still going back for lessons, having no idea what I was doing. So confused, like, maybe I'm over exaggerating, and I still didn't know who to tell. And I've written several plays on this, and I have a few scenes where I did try to, I have 3 wonderful brothers and a very supportive family, and there were times where I did try to hint or tell some of them, and, it was family, and there were times where I did try to hint or tell some of them, and, it was so out of our, range of thought that nothing was getting through. And then I finally did tell my mom on one of our walks by the beach, and that's a very special moment. That's actually in another one of the scenes in my plays. You can tell I heal a lot through my playwriting and performance. But anyway, that was April, right around my birthday, April 10th. 2005, and now it's like, okay, now we know, now, like, no one talks about this, what do we do about all this? And so we were going to, go for therapy, or, like, what else this? And so we were going to, go for therapy, or, like, what else would you do when, trying to think what to do. That was April 10th, and then, April 25th. we had our big Passover Seder, and my mom and I were treating that, my mom and I were the only people that knew now. And Passover was always like our favorite holiday because we loved food, we loved entertaining. And, we said, okay, this is going to be our great comeback dinner and celebration. Because Passover, the story, is all about redemption and freedom and liberation. And that night, I just had a very bad stomach ache that didn't go away. And that's when everything happened very, very quickly. Hospital just to see what was going on. A few hours later, I was in a coma, and I guess the surgeons cut me open, and there was so much internal pressure that my stomach, actually exploded to the ceiling of the operating room, a total gastrectomy. And long story short, I would be here all day. It turned into, now 20 surgeries, and, basically, I had no stomach, so when I finally woke up from a coma months later, they told me that, they didn't know if I'd ever be able to eat or drink again. Mm-hmm. And they didn't know, again, everything was uncertain. I didn't know it would be 7 years without even an ice cube or anything. And what took so long wasn't just, waiting for all my insides to heal. Because, I'd gone sepsis. Apparently it was a big blood clot that was just laying on an artery that had built up from keeping all that in, which is one, hypothesis. But then we had to find a surgeon with, the creativity to figure out, this had never happened before. So it's not like a set, broken leg, you do this, and that. We had to find a surgeon that could get out his arts and crafts and figure out how to make me a digestive system from nothing. And we found one 7 years later who, in a 19-hour surgery, that was the first part, and he took whatever intestine that I had left, and he made me a little pouch. I guess the closest thing you could call it is be almost like a gastric bypass kind of thing. But it wasn't a perfect science. It still isn't. There's still problems with it. And the point is, all throughout, that time that I couldn't eat or drink anything, I also had to stay very numb because, how do you get your mind off a primal need? I was starving, and I couldn't even have an ice cube. And so I learned once again, I relearned that habit, just like I had learned during the abuse, to be very, very numb. Mm-hmm. So I got very, very good at it. So really the healing, the physical healing from the surgeries, that was, I say relatively, because it wasn't, that was the easy part. But, and it was easy because I had a whole team of doctors who at least knew what was at hand and all that stuff. But once I could eat and, food brought us healing, and, suddenly I had to think about these things that I hadn't thought about since my coma. And that was the emotional healing that was harder to talk about and for other people, to deal with, and for me to know what to do with. So really, it was a very long road ahead of me. And to kind of cap it off, I found my creativity through, my healing through creativity. I found that it was the best container for all the anxiety, the anger, anything. I could just channel into that, because you can always go into negative coping mechanisms, and believe me, I did, plenty. I had, my main thing was, I had like a mantra to myself, actually, that I wrote a song about that to another one of my shows, that, keep moving so your heart stands still. Like, I was just chronic, like, I would just, like, pace around for hours just to, feel something, like, mechanical, so I didn't have to think and I didn't have to feel. I couldn't even, sit still, and that was, like, my thing. That was how I kind of dissociated from the world. I called myself the queen of dissociation, because I got very good at it, and good at just not feeling anything at all when, as an artist, you want to feel. And so that was why, going back to singing, reclaiming my voice, telling myself, like, my voice teacher didn't give that to me. I had that all along. Eventually, I was re-hospitalized for many setbacks, but the blessing in that was I discovered art, first by just taking, like, toilet paper from the Yale Hospital bathroom and collaging with it, and by the time I was discharged, I had, like, 70 mixed media paintings, dance, anything I could find where because the truth is, and what I try to leverage on now is, you're supposed to talk about it, but then you hear these statistics that, I don't even know how much it is this year, but hopefully not as much now that everyone's talking about it. But, 1 in 9 are, cases, only get reported. And it's because people don't understand that words, being able to verbalize these things, is usually the hardest part. And usually it takes a lot of other mediums over time to get those words out. And for me, the art was a very innocuous way to just start expressing something beyond the numbness. Because the truth is sometimes the words don't come because you don't even know what's going on. But through this art, which I had don't come because you don't even know what's going on. But through this art, which I had all this time in the hospital to do, it started just as colors and strokes, but soon those colors and strokes turned into shapes, and then things only I could recognize, and I was able to literally connect abstract dots and make connections in my mind, but not, like I had to, journal the actual words, which can be very difficult. But, eventually that's how I was finally able to, cognitively, realize it, and then eventually speak about it. And the speaking about it actually didn't take me, it took me, but the point is that it did happen with patience and self-love and support where you can. At first I really did feel like I needed a confrontation, like I needed to see him. My family tells me that the first words I said coming out of my coma was it was him, and then I brought my family in my ICU room for an intervention, saying that I wanted him back here so I could talk to him. And for years I wanted to see him one more time. I didn't know why. I didn't know if I missed him or hated him, because I had woken up in a new world completely. But it's funny that eventually once I did put together my own one-woman show, Gutless and Grateful, and once I started doing things for me and remembering what I loved, I didn't care about him. And the truth is, he's unfortunately, he's still alive. He's still teaching, believe it or not. But there's nothing I can do but live my life and tell my story and help other survivors and also, just as importantly, bystanders understand what the freeze response is, because it can really look like everything's fine or someone's just out of it for no reason, or maybe even like healthy, that they're not fighting back. And that's what I thought I was doing, which I really felt a lot of guilt for. But whenever I go to colleges and things like that, I think, or anywhere, I think, I don't care who you are, whether you're a survivor, an ally, or just some random person on the street, I think everyone needs to at least understand what the various reactions to trauma are, because we all experience some range of trauma in our lives, and we all have reactions that we don't understand. And what I found is that, and why the arts are so great, is that we heal through community and we heal through empathy and understanding. And the arts are like this universal container that it doesn't matter what words we're saying or what our individual stories are, but through theater, through art, through music, through dance, through cooking, through these creative acts that people around the world can enjoy, they're also beautiful means of expression that we can express joy, pain, suffering, and somehow, it creates this universal language that we understand, and we feel welcome. So anyway, honestly, that's how I found my healing through that. That was my secret, not a big secret, but I think it's important. So, so
Amy,
there.
Thank you so much. So there. And so many of the layers, and there's just so much going on there that we can highlight. I think the main thing that kind of came up for me as you were sharing your story is that I think for a lot of survivors of abuse, we experience trauma in the context of something that we enjoy. We were just living our lives, right? And then this person, whoever the abuser might be, interrupts that process. And one of the things that I find really inspiring about your story is that, it would have been very, very easy to say, well, I'm never going to sing again, or I'm never going to act, I'm putting all of that away because it was tied up with this, experience of trauma. And I love how instead you have taken all of that and used it, as your weapon for spreading awareness and your own healing. I think that's super powerful.
That would be letting him win, And I got to tell you, that took a very long time to learn, that it may seem obvious, but, realizing he's not the one that gave it to me, because when he, started the abuse, I thought my whole world was taken away, and I literally felt drained until, again, and I wrote a musical about this to help me through this, but I realized, wow, I had all that stuff all along, and he just recognized that in me, which is great, but the good part is, I didn't need him for it, and this is who I am. So I think the important part for any survivor is to remember who they were before this, and nothing can take that away. And what I like to say is, my second TED Talk was about, the archetypal hero's journey, and the beauty of that is, it's this person and something happens to him and he's taken to the underworld. You know, it's a universal theme you'll find from Star Wars to Finding Nemo. You know, and in this underworld or this special world, they have to fight all these demons and all these kind of things. But then they finally, you know, find their treasure, and then they have to come back to society. And they come back with these gifts they've learned from fighting in the underworld. But what they realize is, you know, everyone after trauma, when they recover, they just want life to go back to just how it was before. But I think the biggest lesson we all have to learn is, you know, our world will never be the same, but, you know, it can be, you know, I think of it as a mosaic, like, you know, it's a piece of glass that was once whole that's shattered, but a mosaic, you know, you put it together, you know, differently, but, you know, a mosaic's even more beautiful. It's art, and that's kind of the hero's journey storyline that we come back to, not our original home, but a new home that we've kind of brightened with the trials and tribulations of what we've been through. And that's what we have to remember, that we as survivors, we do have a special gift, even though, you know, it was very hard and very traumatizing, you know. Yeah. We can use that to better ourselves and better our world. But we just listen. You know, the hard part is that we have to accept that things aren't going to be like they used to be, but that doesn't have to necessarily be a bad thing.
Beautifully said. Cheers to that. Yes, folks. Are you hearing this, lady? I hope you're listening. She's speaking some truth for you today. Yes. Yeah. Beautiful. Oh, my goodness. So let's talk a little bit about how people can get in touch with you and some of the projects that you're working on right now. What do you want people to know about that?
Okay, what first? Here's my flaw. I do too much. But hey, expression really went back to theater and song and all that. So now I've been writing plays like crazy. I'm developing a few right now, but what I've been touring since 2012, which you mentioned, is Gutless and Grateful, which is the story of, you know, me basically, you know, loving theater and all the medical stuff happening to me and the abuse as well. And, you know, I tour that everywhere to, you know, high schools and colleges, conferences, organizations and theaters. And what I like to do after, you know, it's a 70-minute musical, and then I do a talk back after about whatever the various theme is of the audience that, you know, I'm working with, and I'll either do a Q&A or a creativity workshop, or you know, I especially for, you know, survivors and, you know, things like that. I love talking about, you know, the freeze response and ways we can, you know, fight back against that. I'm actually doing something in the fall at Wesleyan College, which I'm excited about because they have a wonderful sexual assault initiative going on right now. I've done that, Take Back the Nights, things like that. So I'm still doing that. I've been doing that since 2012, but I'm also working on a 3-act play called Flicker and a Fire Starter, which is finally getting workshopped by a wonderful theater company in New York, where I'm actually played by 2 characters, which is kind of the pre-coma Amy and the post-coma Amy, and it's all about how, you know, trauma kind of separates you, and the 2 girls have to find healing together by, you know, accepting what each other has been through and and fighting back against their abuser, using a lot of metaphors of sound and light, and that's going really well. I'm very excited about that. And then the last thing that I'll mention is a musical that I'm working on with 14 of my original songs called Passageways, and that's really the most specifically about how I felt during the abuse and how I feel really excited about it is it's actually going to use a lot of like live painting on stage because, and I think this has been on my playwriting bucket list forever, because I'm actually going to show how I couldn't speak about it and everything, those secrets made me do, the good, the bad, the ugly, and then how art was such a release. And I got to tell you, writing that has been so much fun because it really was such a wonderful way to heal. So I'm so excited for them. And, you know, I have the free TED Talks out now, and then my book should be coming out very soon, but it is going to be available for pre-order on my website, My Beautiful Detour. And you can learn all about my detour movement, hashtag Love My Detour. I have a whole little thing about how it doesn't matter what we've been through, any detour in life. But like I said, we heal through community and through that shared idea that we have things in life we don't expect. So you can also learn about how to be a detourist on my website, which is amyoes.com, and check it out. It has all my art, my TED Talks, my performances, and I always love hearing from you guys. So, yeah.
Awesome. So there's no shortage of ways to get connected with Amy and to hear what she has to say and to learn from her. So do please go check that out. Look out for her TED Talks. I'll put some links here in the show notes, and I'm also going to I'll give you my social media, the Facebook, Twitter, Instagram stuff too. Yeah, all that will be there.
I'm on all that.
Yeah, for sure. So get connected with Amy and take inspiration, from her story today to imagine, the detours that you've taken in your life and how those might be, serving you in some way, or how you can use them to make your life whatever it is that you would like it to be. And listen in, I'm going to play a clip here at the end of the show of one of Amy's songs from her new musical, How Dare You. So stay tuned. Amy, I just want to say thank you for being with us today and really appreciate you sharing your story and your perspective. Absolutely. And for everyone listening, don't forget to visit RachelGrantCoaching.com to learn more about sexual abuse. Oh, yeah?
Rachel, thank you for everything you do, on your website and everything. I think that goes for all of us.
Thank you for that, Amy. I appreciate it. And tune back in next time, folks, because we have so much more to share. And until then, take good care of you. See you next time.
Bye.
And grown up and impress them with your put together mask and your soul bound up in glass. How dare you now present yourself with pride as I resent myself inside and burn with shame while I smile and praise your name. You tear with your facade to be this upright noble God when only I can see the shape of a slimy lying snake. You dare to put me on parade. I hoard myself to make you stay. I can't live with myself, now I have nobody else, and I'm the only one who dare to put me on parade. I hoard myself to make you stay. I can't live with myself, now I have nobody else, and I'm the only one who knows your dirty little secrets. I'm the only one who dries your tears in the dark. I'm the only one who holds your burdens deep in my chest. I'm the only one who's lost her heart. How dare long for you to hold and drag along. Poor girl, she's very weak. She's quite bright, but she can't speak. They say poor child is wrong with her. How know when you teach song to her? Do they know I've no choice? Voice teachers to my voice. I hold his pain like no one can. He cries just like a little man. He's made a joke of music, made a mockery of art. My mentor writes like you believe. He wears his demons on his sleeve. I've opened up his heart and we're tearing mine apart. And I'm the only one who's burned and dried up by the sun. I'm the one who hangs down in the shadows of your glory. I'm alone and I'm the only one. Stifled, silenced, mad, alone, bitter that you've stole my home, knowing I'm the dump that keeps your lies preserved in fear. To the world you show no trace of your wretched, shameful face. Only I will numbly cry for worlds that disappear, and I'm the only cry for worlds that disappear, and I'm the only one choked by the loopholes in your story. I'm the only one who's burned and dried up by the sun. I'm the one who hangs down in the shadows of your glory. How dare you fire, but I can't fire back. I strike myself and you attack. You flying swords like the birds. You will kill me with your words. I should have been my bubbly stuff and said the sky is big enough and said I stand her mute. When no dare to refuse, could have stabbed you with flames, could have shattered your name, could have taken control, could have screamed for my soul, could have pierced